It's great to be here today in front of friends, family, colleagues, and supply chain partners. I hope that some of the words today that I have will inspire you to move forward with the agenda that I'm going to speak about. So first of all, I hope you're enjoying your lunch. Today, I hope to encourage all of you to take steps towards innovating the supplier ecosystem that you participate in. Over the next 6 minutes, I'll have an opportunity to explain why that's important and to hope to convince you all to do something about it. My words to you today come from the mind and the heart, and I'm going to share a perspective that is grounded from a broad set of experiences and connections that I have been blessed with in my work experience in my life. Deep down, I'm an engineer, I'm a strategist, I'm a minority and woman business entrepreneur, a manufacturer, an automotive supplier partner to many of you in this room, and a manufacturing policy advisor. I am deeply passionate about our U.S. manufacturing ecosystem. This was the slide you were supposed to see during all of that. Supply ecosystem innovation is a critical component of our long-term economic prosperity in the United States. It was prioritized, I'm not sure if many of you know, but by the White House over 2 terms and was thoroughly researched during my appointment on the Advanced Manufacturing Partnership during the Obama administration. During that time, I had the privilege to partner with 18 corporations, some of those are in this room today as well, and 10 academic institutions to recommend policy changes to the President and identify private sector actions we can take together as corporations to accelerate advanced manufacturing in the United States and to strengthen our collective future. The U.S. manufacturing ecosystem is comprised of nearly 300,000 firms. The image you see is something that represents what that ecosystem looks like. So imagine your company, your corporation as one of those circles or one of those dots in this complex ecosystem. 80% of those dots, 80% of those firms are considered small and medium-sized companies with less than 100 employees. These are called the backbone suppliers. Typically, they're privately held. They represent very niche products, specialized skills, and they're critical for industry sustainability. 80% of your supply chain probably looks like those companies today. Your industry ecosystem, if you're not in manufacturing, it also will mirror similar demographics. So think about 80% of the firms in your ecosystem are small to mid-sized backbone companies. They're your MBEs, your WBEs, your small businesses, but they make up the backbone of your industry. It's a complex ecosystem. It's a living organism, highly interconnected. The success of one component leads to the success or failure of the other component. The ecosystem expands, it contracts, it changes, and supplier ecosystem innovation is needed for the future. Oops. Let me go back. Sorry. I'll move on to the next component. One thing we will talk about is that many companies, many organizations realize the benefit of cultivating your supplier capabilities. Innovation is critical. Today, you provide leadership scholarships, training, inclusion, and hands-on development. These efforts help deliver in your ecosystem supply continuity, meaning you get the supply you need, productivity gains, and cost savings. That's the agenda today. These current efforts that you have should be continued and celebrated. In fact, there are many corporate members in the room today. Sitting in this room, you have award-winning supplier capability development programs. However, I'll argue and raise the imperative that with the rapid pace of change, these programs will not be sufficient to secure the supplier ecosystem that you're going to need in the future. In automotive alone, we're facing major technology trends of lightweighting, autonomous, mobility solutions, electrification. These are going to dramatically reshape the market and the industry ecosystem. So what will the supplier ecosystem for your industry need to look like in the future? Are you thinking about this? Is your chief procurement officer helping to develop a vision towards this? What's it going to be like in 10 to 20 years? How can corporations expand the scope of your supplier development efforts today to ensure that the inevitable changes that are coming will actually align to what supply base you need for your future business needs? It's imperative for corporations and MBE suppliers to amplify the development agenda. We must proactively evolve and shape the supplier ecosystem for our collective future. By expanding your supplier development efforts towards ecosystem innovation, your companies will gain added benefits, such as accelerating new technology commercialization into your products, catalyzing and aligning your suppliers towards capacity and capabilities that you're going to need in the future, and you're going to need them at scale, and gaining advantaged access and productivity with your supply base. It's not a guarantee that you'll always be able to get what you need in the future, so having advantaged access is important. Ultimately, the goal is to cross that chasm and to achieve innovation at scale in your supplier ecosystem. And for this audience in particular, with diverse suppliers. If we achieve it, it will benefit your company, your industry ecosystem, your communities, and our nation as a whole. But unfortunately, there's always a but. There are some unique barriers that backbone suppliers face in achieving innovation scale-up. They're not going to be able to do it by themselves. These are impeded flows of technical and market insights, supply network relationships, and funding, in particular for manufacturing investments. But the good news is there's a way to overcome these challenges together. And we can do it to move the supplier ecosystem across the chasm, having both corporations and suppliers working together to build a bridge to the future. First of all, corporations in the room, leaders in your industries, you can expand your supplier development programs toward a future orientation in 4 ways. First, demand reliability and demand creation. What that means is be deliberate about long-term supplier relationships and commitments. This incents your suppliers to direct their growth strategy, their investments, towards your future needs. It helps de-risk their investments so that when they make them, they will be successful, and then therefore you will be successful. Secondly, communicate. Many of you have supplier meetings, continue to do those, but communicate your long-term direction and your future needs. In particular, new technologies, products, and markets. Signal to your ecosystem consistently, and the worthwhile investment areas will begin to trigger, and investments will be made. Communicate early and often to your suppliers that you want to cultivate and develop, especially those in this room today. Third, facilitate connections. Again, a 100-person company as a backbone company, do you think they have the partnership connections that a large OEM or a large tier 1 would have? They don't. Large corporations have wide access to promising technologies, from startups to labs. They're screening hundreds of technologies every month. Sadly, the vast majority of these technologies are never going to be commercialized because the startups and the labs lack operational capability. Corporations can partner promising upstarts with strong supplier operators in your ecosystem to accelerate commercialization into your company and into your industry ecosystem. Fourth and finally, this is a little bit of a wild one, but some people are doing it. Partner with your suppliers to deploy technology. Think about the fact that many corporations in the room today have large intellectual property portfolios. Many of those assets are dormant, laying on the shelf, underutilized. Corporations can provide IP access to their capable suppliers with the goal of commercializing valued technology. This infuses capability into the suppliers, into the ecosystem, and also creates a new revenue stream for the corporation. So demand, create demand, signal where you're going, connect partners, and partner with your suppliers. As I said, the bridge requires building from both sides. It must equally be built by the suppliers. So this is a call to action for all the MBE suppliers in the room today. As suppliers, we need, first, a mindset shift, adopting a long-term customer-partner perspective, where you're deliberately aligning your investments, your operations, towards your strategic customers and their future needs. It's a very significant mindset shift. Secondly, we have to tune into macro and industry trends, competitor intelligence, and listen for signals from our customers. When they do speak, listen about their long-term direction and their emerging needs. Third, identify the adjacencies for your business that align with these long-term trends and your customer's trajectory. These adjacencies should leverage your core competencies and then translate into promising growth opportunities for the future. And finally, don't get stuck only in the day-to-day, but allocate resources in your business towards these promising innovation platforms, even if it's a small investment. Because if you don't start early, you will never have the level of capability or maturity in the future when those skills are really needed at scale in the market. And to use a famous hockey quote, you're skating to where the puck is going. So, what are we all waiting for? I know you have lunch to eat, but let's all agree that right after lunch, that we share a common goal for a robust, world-leading supplier ecosystem here in the United States, and especially here in Michigan. And as members of the vibrant MMSDC community, let's make a commitment to do our part as corporations, as suppliers, as intermediaries connecting all the dots, that we will build a bridge to the future and innovate the supplier ecosystem. Thank you.